What's up, you guys? Hey, I know this is a surprise in the middle of the day, but I'm off work today because I had a doctor's appointment. If you are in my membership on my other page, um, y'all know I had a little situation at work yesterday, but I already had this doctor's appointment, and my appointment was supposed to be 8 o'clock this morning. I'm supposed to be getting my new trays for my Invisalign, and I got there and the trays ain't there yet. The trays not gonna be there until noon and on the UPS truck, but they won't be delivered until noon. And they did try to call me this morning, but they called me at like 7:45. By that point, I was already almost there. I don't know why they didn't call me last night, but I'm not even mad. It is what it is. I had already taken the full day off work, so we're gonna talk a little bit about living single. I know I've been promising y'all this for about 2 weeks, but baby, we get it. We there now. Hey, Abby Boo, what's up, Raven? Hey, Malicia, Vintage. Hey, you guys. So listen, this is a retro review. So we are going back in the day. We are going to be revisiting Living Single, but we have the added point of view that Erica Alexander and Kim Coles have. They are doing a podcast where they are giving you behind the scenes information you did not know, and just general conversation about how the industry works, how sitcoms work, what that looks like. I highly recommend, if you are a child of the 90s, or even just somebody that discovered Living Single in reruns or syndication, I highly recommend you guys go check out the podcast. The numbers are really good, and we have got to support stuff like this. If we want to see more of it, like if this is successful, you never know, they might do it. My Wife and Kids, Tisha Campbell might link up with, probably not Damon Wayans, but maybe one of the other people on the show. Damon Wayans seems like he's a little, I don't feel like he's like I'm gonna do a podcast every week kind of person. Maybe a different world to put together a pod. Like if we support these things, we'll see more of it. And I'm definitely here for it. This is my childhood, early adulthood. You know what I mean? I remember when Living Single debuted. Back then there was no DVRs and all of that. You were either home and you watched it, or you ain't see it. I mean, we did have VCRs, but you either caught it or you missed it and somebody told you what happened. And then you tried to catch it in the summer reruns. Remember the summer reruns? I don't feel like we have summer reruns like we used to. Do we? I mean, I really don't. I guess I don't pay attention because in the summertime, because I have because of DVRs and on demand and streaming, you don't really need the summer season like you used to. Back then, you needed the summer reruns because you might not have caught it, So, but Living Single is definitely. I feel like for that time period, for my golden age, I'll say like my high school into college years, I would say that as far as sitcoms are concerned, Different World is number one for me. Living Single is number two. Like, it is definitely number two on my list of must-see shows. Like, I wanted to be Maxine Shaw. Back then I wanted to be an attorney. Little known facts, I don't know if I've told y'all that before, but back then I wanted to be an attorney and I wanted to be Maxine Shaw. Like, I loved her grit, I loved her bluntness, I loved her fearlessness, I loved her, I'm going to walk in the room and I'm going to own it, and then if I don't own it, I'm going to fake it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like when you think of Living Single, it's very much like these ensemble shows like The Golden Girls, Living Single. Everybody knows a Regine. Everybody knows a Queen Latifah. Everybody knows, when I say Queen Latifah, a Khadijah. Everybody knows a Sinclair, right? We all know these people in our lives. Either it's you, or you could probably identify people in your life that fit that type. Erica said the Black women became lawyers because of Maxine Shaw. Listen, I absolutely 100% believe that enrollment in law school increased. I do feel like there was a Maxine Shaw effect. Honestly, I do. Because listen, I wanted to be a lawyer before Living Single, but once Living Single came out, that I wanted to be Maxine Shaw. Y'all know what I'm saying? I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but I do sometimes wonder, had I stayed the course and went to law school, what that would have looked like for me. But I don't regret not going to law school. I don't. I really don't, because I made the decision that was the best for me at the time. Because if I'm being honest with myself, if I had gone to law school straight after undergrad, I probably wouldn't have done very well. So if I'm being honest, it probably wouldn't have worked out from that point of view. But you never know. You never know. But anyway, but just like enrollment in HBCUs went up with a different world. Like everybody wanted that HBCU experience, watching a different world. Everybody wanted that human experience, right? So enrollment definitely went up. I'm kind of looking forward to the reboot of a different world, because I think it will do this. I'm hoping it'll have the same effect. Well, people will want to enroll in HBCUs, and it'll put that awareness back on HBCUs. I hope it will do that. Something I was just thinking, I forgot. Oh, I told you guys before that I also feel like Living Single is one of those shows that could get the Bel Air treatment. When they first made the announcement that Bel Air was going to be like drama, we were all kind of like, what? Like we were kind of, because we talked about it on the channel. We were like, what? Fresh Prince of Bel Air reimagined, what? A drama. But honestly, I could see Living Single being that. I could see them taking the concept of Living Single and making it a drama, and I would be so here for it, as long as it's not Tyler Perry doing it. And no disrespect. Well, I guess it is disrespect to Tyler Perry. I just think that Tyler Perry will ruin it. But for the people that are doing Bel Air, like I could definitely see them taking that concept of 4 women living, sharing, especially in today's economy, we could definitely see 4 women, renting a house, sharing a house or whatever. I could definitely see the Maxine Shaw, and then the fellas. Like I really, Ray said it would make a good drama. I really think it would. I really think it would make a great drama. And even if you think about some of the things that like in this first episode, we're going to talk about this first episode. When you think about the first episode, some of the things that those women went through could very well be a drama, could be an episode. And then the storyline of Khadijah and her magazine, like that whole, her fledgling magazine and trying to stay afloat. Kyle and Maxine and this whole sexual tension, Regine always looking for that man that's gonna come and take care of her. Like it definitely could be a drama. Like I'm so here for it. I think, but one of the things I would change, I wouldn't have them all living in one space. I would probably have them maybe have their own apartments. Yes, definitely have to be a digital magazine. We know that either it would have to be a digital magazine or they would have to date it, right? They would have to have it set in the same time period, but they could make it a digital magazine or a blog. I mean, it could be something like the Jasmine brand, the Shade Room type of thing, that are very lucrative today. Regine dating a father and son at the same time was a major drama, right? You're right with that major drama. Khadijah, her love triangle. Remember when she was going back and forth with the guy with Scooter, and then the other guy? It was definitely. TC Carter, the drama at work, dealing with the racism at work. We're gonna get to that in a minute. Matter of fact, let's just get to it. So the first episode, maturing is realizing that Regine was a gold digging bird. Wow. Okay, Ebby. All right. Okay then. Flavor Unit, you know what? Queen Latifah's production company, I think, could do a good job. Flavor Unit. She, Queen Latifah at this point produces her own stuff. Her production company produces her own stuff. Like, The Equalizer, a lot of her movies have been produced by her. So she could do it. I definitely could see it done. Y'all know another show, and I've said this before, I'm going to keep saying it because I really, really, really could see it. The Jeffersons. For those of you who watch The Jeffersons, I think they could take The Jeffersons and they could make it a drama. You got this guy, but I would change it again. If it were me, I probably would change it from moving into a deluxe apartment in the sky high to a gated community. I probably would change it to a gated community. But it could still work because I mean New York. But you know what? If it's set in New York, I would keep it in a deluxe apartment in the sky high because people in New York they live in these elaborate penthouse apartments. So no, I would keep it. We can keep it that. If we kept it in New York, I would definitely keep it that. Yeah, I changed my mind. But I could see remember the son who was this militant. I mean, instead of it being like the 1970s, 80s militancy, it could be the Black Lives Matter militant. You know what I mean? Like I could see it. The racial tension. You know, I could definitely see it. Flip the roles and make Wheezy. Ooh. No, the Jeffersons was in New York. A Good Times was Chicago. The Jeffersons was definitely set in New York. Mm-hmm. Good Times. No, the Jeffersons was not Chicago. The Jeffersons was New York. I'm going to tell you how I know, because George and them were from Harlem. They always talked about he opened up his first store in Harlem. Now, that was New York. It would be hard for you to watch. But I thought the same thing about Fresh Prince. Like, I honestly did not know how this was going to work with the whole Bel Air thing. But they did in my opinion, they did a phenomenal job with Bel Air. Now, some of the storylines have made me crazy, but I think they did a good job of the concept, in my opinion. Okay. So let's get into so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the episode, and then I'm going to go over the notes that I made from the podcast. I still y'all know how I do. I'm gonna give y'all the hot spots, but y'all, I definitely, matter of fact, I need to put the link to the podcast in the description box. I definitely recommend you guys go and check out the podcast. I'm gonna put it in the description box. I'm sure y'all know it though. It's called Revisiting Living Single. Yeah, they were the Upper East Side. Yep. So the episode starts off, we get our first glimpse of Flavor, right? We have Sinclair on the phone being Sinclair. She's doing an accent like this in London. She sounded like downtown Julie Brown. And again, y'all have to be part of the 80s babies to understand that reference. But downtown Julie Brown was a very famous VJ on MTV. She was one of the only Black VJs from MTV, but she was from the UK. So she had that UK accent. Right, absolutely. Thank you, Elizabeth. Absolutely, the Jeffersons absolutely was a spinoff from All in the Family. All in the Family, I think they said All in the Family has the most spinoffs in TV history. They have the Jeffersons, they have Maude, and then from Maude, you had Good Times, technically, because Florida was on Maude, even though they totally switched it up but Florida had her spinoff into Good Times. And there was another spinoff from the Jefferson, Archie Bunker's Place. From All in the Family. There was another spinoff from All in the Family, and I don't remember. If y'all remember, put it in the chat if y'all remember the other one. But it was the Jeffersons, Maude, Archie Bunker's Place, and technically Good Times. I feel like there was another, but they said that Archie Bunker had the most spinoffs of any. I think they said that had the most spinoffs of any like TV show. 4 is a lot, so maybe it was just 4, but I feel like it was 5. But maybe it was just 4. Anyway, yep. Wubba, wubba, wubba. Downtown Julie Brown. So she sounded like, hey, Catherine, it sounded like Gloria. Oh, Gloria had her own show. So there you go. There you go. Thank you, Marnie. Thank you, boo. I might mess around and do Maude. Maude is my show. When I tell y'all I love me some Maude, I love me some Maude. It was 7. Wow. So I'm missing 2 more. So Gloria. So it's 2 more that came out of our All in the Family. What else came out of All in the Family? If y'all got it, put it in the chat. 7. Okay, yeah, but I remember reading that. Okay, 7. Okay. If y'all haven't, put it in the chat. So So we see Sinclair on the phone. She's answering the phone. Then we see Khadijah. So 107 Houser Street. I don't even know that show. Hold on. I have never even heard of that show. 107 Houser Street. Let me Google it. I might have to go check that out. 107 Houser Street. Child, let me put TV show. Why is it showing me people's houses? Okay, TV show. American sitcom television series, a spinoff of All in the Family that aired on CBS. It wasn't on long, child. It wasn't on long. Oh, this was a black show. John Amos was on here. Yeah, but 704. It's okay. I found it. The Bunker House with the New Family, Hay Street. Wow. Created by Norman Lear with John Amos and Lenny Godfrey, T.E. Russell, Mara Tierney. A black family, the Cumberbatches, moved to the former Queens home of Archie Bunker. Wow. Y'all need to go find that. I need to go find it. I just want to look at it. Okay. Damn, I don't remember nothing about that. Okay. So Khadijah, we get the down. Okay, in this scene, we meet Khadijah, we meet Regine, and we immediately know that, you know, Khadijah owns this magazine, Flavor. Sinclair's her cousin who came to help, who's working there, and we know the theme that runs throughout the majority of the show is Khadijah trying to get a cover for she's trying to start the first episode is coming out. I mean, the first, edition is coming out, and she's trying to get a cover for the magazine. She's supposed to be getting Maya Angelou, but because of Sinclair not responding in a timely fashion to Maya Angelou's representatives that were calling to get the questions, she lost Maya Angelou, right? So she was not able to get Maya Angelou as the cover of her magazine. And of course, she is in a panic about that. Now, while this is going on, Regine comes in, and we immediately know who Regine is. Regine comes in. She talks about that she's taking a lunch break. She has her new boyfriend in his limo parked out front. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like in this scene, Regine was a lot more provocative because this is the pilot. Remember, this was the pilot. This is what they shot to sell it to the network. So they made some changes. They changed some stuff up. We're going to talk about that when we get to the notes. But the first thing that hit me was Regine's dialogue in the pilot was a lot more provocative and racy than it generally was, or at least from what I remember. Now, my memory is a little fuzzy because I haven't watched, I don't watch it every day, like that. So maybe as I continue to watch, I'll say, no, this was pretty on par for Regine. But she talked about the man eating caviar between her cleavage and drinking, champagne out of her shoe. And, it's very clear that they getting it in, very, very clear that they're getting it in. And I feel like as the show went on, Regine's character was a lot more innuendo than outright in your face. Like, you know what I'm saying? But if y'all tell me if I'm wrong or if y'all don't remember it that way. But she's talking about that. And of course, Khadijah doesn't care because she's busy trying to get a new cover for her magazine. And Sinclair is being Sinclair, like, oh, wow. Okay, great. Great for you, Regine, So in the next scene, we're at the apartment. And again, remember, pilots are different. It's a different setting. It's not the townhouse that we end up seeing for the duration of the show. It's very similar, but a little different, right? And then there's literally an outdoor, remember, Kyle and Overton lived upstairs, and you could see the steps going upstairs. But on the pilot, when they opened their door, they were outside. They were not in a hallway. So, but then I'll go ahead and tell y'all because I might forget to say it. What we found out, thank you, Ray. It was the Family Matters house. So as soon as they said it on the podcast, I was like, yeah, it was, right? So if you know the layout of Family Matters, it was the exact same house from Family Matters. So we see Overton showing Sinclair how to fix the vacuum cleaner. And again, we get the foundation for the flirtation between Overton and Sinclair. It's clear that Overton got a thing for Sinclair. And Sinclair, I don't know if she's figured it out yet, but she's enjoying his company, right? They definitely are enjoying each other's company. Then we get to meet Kyle. We meet Kyle. You fine, Ray? Baby, that's what we're here for. That's why I do it live. Y'all drop it in the chat. It's okay. So then Overton, Kyle comes in, and we know what we need to know about Kyle, right? The pretentious, arrogant, all the women want me, my. And we see that him and Overton are friends and they're roommates, right? So what we find out is Regine is going out on a date with her new boyfriend. Her new boyfriend comes through, and guess who her boyfriend is, y'all? Baby, her boyfriend is Julius. Y'all remember Julius with Whitley's boo thing from A Different World? The man she was with before Dwayne Wayne? Julius. I forget his real name, but the same guy that played Julius. So that's who plays Regine's. Kyle was like a male Regine, but it was more acceptable because he was a man, right? Right. So he comes in and everybody gets to meet him and everything is cool. And they're like, oh, he is cute, you know. And of course, she's bragging on the money he has. He owns this, he owns that. And they're going to do this and they're going to do that, you know. And the ladies are like, you know, and it was a cute moment of them kind of ragging, but then ultimately having to accept the fact, yeah, he is cute, you know. Okay. All right, Regine, you might have got you a good one, you know. So the next day, down to Flavor Magazine, this woman, he's a chef. He owns a restaurant, right? So the next day, this woman comes into Flavor Magazine and she wants to put an ad. She wants to put an ad in Flavor Magazine for her and her husband's restaurant. And when she says her name, of course, Sinclair immediately is like, whoa. Tell me, what was the name again? What was your husband's name again? And she immediately knows something's up. Now, this is where things become a sitcom and not real life. Because in real life, the way Sinclair was acting and the way Khadijah was acting, in real life, that woman would have been like, what's up? Because she did say, oh, you know my husband? And Sinclair, you know, called herself playing it off. But she ain't play it off good enough. She ain't play it off good enough, okay? Because I would have been like, what's all this reaction? Like, what you need to know about my husband? Like, what's good? Right, Julia's equal Kenya Moore's husband. Right. So they take the ad or whatever, but then they're like, we have to tell Regine. We got to tell Regine. So, listen, I feel like this was a moment in sister girldom. And yes, I just made up that word. This was a moment in sister girldom. Because they sort of went back and forth, Brad. Yeah, they sort of went back and forth. But ultimately, they decided we got to tell her, like, we cannot have her out in these streets dating this married man. Like, we got to let her know this man is married. I feel like this was a well-written moment because I think if we're being honest with ourselves, if we're being honest now, y'all ain't got to tell me because I know sometimes people be like, I was perfect and I ain't never had this happen to me. But if we're being honest, I feel like the majority of us, not everybody, because I know, like I said, I know some of y'all never been through nothing, okay? If we're being honest, we have either been Regine or we have been the friends to talk to have to tell Regine. I feel like we have all been in a situation where we have either had to we We either were the person that our friends had to sit down and tell us some things, or we were the person that had to sit down and tell our friends some things. Now, everybody might not have had that experience. And I'm not talking about just cheating. It could be your man say he a doctor and he really the janitor. You see what I'm saying? I had a friend who dated a guy who said he was a doctor. And I promise you, he had the ID to get into the hospital. She dropped him off at the hospital. He was not a doctor. Now, he had a good job at the hospital. He drove a nice car. He lived a good lifestyle. So she thought, listen, the car and the apartment match what he say he does. I've taken him to work. I've dropped him off at the hospital. I see the ID. Now, the ID didn't say doctor, but the ID, he had an ID for the hospital until one day, you know, she was rumbling through some things. And found out doctor was not in front of his name. Okay. So things happen. Okay. So I also, now here the second part. I see a lot of y'all saying, yeah, I've been there. Okay. But here go the second part. This is the part y'all not going to admit to. This is the part that y'all going to be like, I never did it. You also have to be prepared for the reaction that the other person is going to give you, because sometimes we don't give the reaction that we should give. Am I being honest about that? Sister Girldom. Do I need to put, hold on. I need to put that on a t-shirt vintage. Hold on. Let me write. Y'all know I got to write it down. Hold on. Sister Girldom. Let me put this on my notes right here. Sister. I need to get in my shop and put some more t-shirts in there anyway. Sister Girl. I like that, Sister Girldom. I like it. Because sometimes people get mad at the messenger and not the message. And this is an example of Regine getting mad at the messenger and not the message. Now, whether it was out of embarrassment, whether it was out of, but he's got money and he spends money on me and he takes care of me, I don't know. But Regine was like, well, I'm going to ask him. And when she asked him, he told her the truth. He was like, yeah, I'm married. But of course, he gave her, y'all know he gave her the line, but we're not getting along. We're getting a divorce. We've got the restaurant together, so I can't leave yet. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay, so that was his reaction. And she kept dating him. And the girls were very disappointed in his decision. I mean, in Regine's decision. They were separated. I'm sorry, Majani. Yeah, he told her they were separated. Yeah. So she was very disappointed. The girls were disappointed. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. The girls were disappointed in her decision, but then there was one night where they were supposed to go out. I think they were supposed to go to the Poconos for the weekend or something. And he didn't show up. Baby, I fell for it too, child. I fell for it too. I was dating a guy. He said he was divorced, but he wasn't really divorced. He was just separated. It wasn't even legally separated, child. He was just separated. And something happened. He got sick. He was in the hospital, baby. I ran my ass up to that hospital. And who was sitting there by his bedside? His wife. Because she was still his legal wife. And she had legal rights to medical decisions. And she looked at me and I looked at her, and she looked at me and I looked at her, and she was like, who are you? And I was like, well, who are you? And she was like, I'm his wife. And I was like, oh, well, I thought I was his girlfriend, but don't worry about it. Baby, I think did I tell y'all that story? Oh, I got to tell y'all that whole story, honey. That story. Ooh, that was a whole situation. Baby, that story was a mess. A mess. What if I keep getting these texts? Okay, so with that being said, we live and we learn. We sure do. Ooh, y'all, hold on a second. Hold on. Okay. My bad. Okay. So what happened when he got back? Listen, to make a long story, I'll give y'all the whole story time one day. Y'all got to remind me to do it. I do it in members only because I'll be telling a lot of my business. But to make a long story short, he really never got better. Last time I talked to him, because he had a stroke. So last time I talked to him, Shy, he was calling me asking for some money. I said, baby, I don't have nothing. Go ask your wife. I ain't got nothing. But that was years ago. Ooh, the last time I talked to him, because I remember that was right before I was going to London. Because I really didn't have, I was like, baby, I'm about to go to London. I ain't got no money. Baby, all this money is going with me down to the London, honey, down to the UK, baby. I ain't got nothing for it. I ain't got nothing for it. Not get out your life, Majani. You went through the same thing. Ciao. My friend boyfriend made her health proxy for him instead of his son to be his ex-wife. So you have an option of picking someone else to be proxy, even if you might get child. Listen, baby, I'll give y'all that. Y'all gotta remind me. Y'all, I'll do a story time this summer. What I might do is do it public and then put it on members only. So if you catch it live, and then I'll put it on members only. That way you don't have to be a member to get the story if you're there on time. But y'all gotta remind me. I'll do it though, because baby, it's a story. Ooh, it's a story. It's a story. But y'all gotta remind me. Okay. You should have share our story live one day. We could do it. We could do it, Quake. We could do it. Y'all know I'll be forgetting. Y'all gotta remind, baby. I was like, I can't help you, baby. I'm sorry. Where your wife? So I don't think it ended well for him, if I'm being honest, but I don't know. And if I'm being very, very honest, I'm really scared to find out. Like, I'm really scared to go and find out how it ended, because last I heard, it wasn't good. So I'm really scared to find out how it ended, for real. And he may still be alive. I don't know. I just ain't heard from him. So anyway, moving right along, y'all, child, because like I said, I don't want to fall down that rabbit hole. So what I loved, and again, this goes back to look, I done forgot my word now. Sister girldom. This comes back to the sister girldom. They were there for her. When that man stood her up, they were there for her. And what I also loved was they didn't give her a bunch of I told you so's. We can't believe you did it. I mean, she knew they were disappointed in her decision. She was probably disappointed in herself. And they, if it were the Golden Girls, they would have offered her some cheesecake and they'd have moved on, right? So I felt like it was a really good episode. It was a good first episode. And this is when Queen Latifah gave us that famous line that has been played over and over again. What would the world be like without men? And she was like, women would be fat and happy and there would be no crime. You know what I'm saying? So, and then we got one of our other infamous scenes when they went in the bathroom and they sang My Girl, right? So it was a really, really great episode. And this was the pilot episode, and it was obviously good enough to get picked up at Fox. Now, for those of y'all who do not remember, back in the day, Fox was a up-and-coming, very fledgling network. And but for the fact that they picked up some really, really, really great shows that probably the major networks passed over, that is what built their network. Shows like Living Color, Living Single, Love and Married with Children, and then of course The Simpsons. These were some of the staples that made the Fox network into this powerhouse of a network. But it was really on the backs of Martin. Thank you. It was really on the backs of Black sitcoms, right? I feel like Married with Children and the Tracy Ullman Show might have been one of the only like black shows on there. I mean, white shows. The Simpsons, it's a white show, but it was animated. So, Fox was just like it. And so this was one of the foundation blocks of the Fox network. And Fox became, look at where Fox is today. Fox became a player very quickly. So let me get to my notes from the podcast. Again, like I said, make sure y'all check out the podcast because the podcast is really, really, really good. But let me check out the podcast. Sorry, y'all. I'm just reading the email from work. Even when I'm off, I'm working, child. Lord have mercy. All right. Shit. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. So let me get to my notes for the podcast. Okay. So first of all, the show originally was supposed to be called My Girls. And if you go to the podcast, they'll play a clip of the entry song of, what the song was supposed to be for their, their theme song, which of course, at the time, it might have been okay. But what we know it ended up becoming, obviously, Living Single with that unforgettable entry, theme song by Queen Latifah. Kim Coles tells a story about how her and Queen Latifah got into the golf cart and drove over to the lot to the president and told them, listen, we don't like the name. We don't think that you should change the name to My Girls. And he very politely told them, thank you for your time, and sent them on their merry little way. But the show became Living Single, which obviously, again, now it's like I couldn't think of it. But My Girls, I don't think would have been a terrible name. I didn't like that theme song though, right? Definitely didn't like the theme song. I didn't know that people thought that the woman dancing under the bridge was Erica Alexander. Because I was very, 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 very clear that was Big Legs. Like, we knew it was Big Legs. At least in my circle of friends, we knew it was Big Legs. Rock Chick, can you do me a favor, baby? Can you not type in all caps? I appreciate it. Thank you. Right. There was a movie called My Girl. And so there was a problem with the getting the copyright, right? You thought it was Erica Alexander? Wow. I knew it was Big Legs. And again, maybe just because of the circles I moved in, I knew who it was. Everybody thought it was Max. Wow. Okay, so they cleared that up, that it was a dancer. She did a lot of choreography and dancing and stuff in the 1990s. A very well known. I did not know that. Okay, I did not know that. Okay, so a lot of people thought that it was Eric Alexander. Wow. Huh. Huh. Well, we know now. I remember, I did not know that. Huh. Yeah, I think it probably was the hair. Well, speaking of hair, they talked about that. I'll go through my notes, but they talked about Eric Alexander talked about her hair. Those were like yarn extension dreads or whatever at the time. And she talked about her hair was like that in the audition. And it was like that because of another role she was playing. And when she went in to do the audition for Max, and she said that I forgot to talk about when we met Max. Max came in letting us know that she took all the man everything in the divorce, honey. She said she had to rehearse that line 1,000 times because that was her audition dialogue. And so she said when she came in and did that dialogue, she had done it so many times, baby, she was ready to rock and roll. Max couldn't dance in the Cosby Show. I knew it wasn't her. Yeah. Who is this that keeps texting me? Oh, that's my ring. So well, she switched it up a little bit, but she definitely kept them braids in the whole show. Towards the end, she switched it up. She started switching up a little bit towards the end. But yeah, she said they wanted her to keep those braids. When she did the audition, that was like their vision for Max's character. Same thing with TC Carter. The fact that you had this very successful, dark-skinned man back then, and I'm not saying that to be colorist. We're talking about what it is, okay? Please don't nobody come at me. Well, I gotta be here as dark-skinned. I'm talking about the fact that representation during this time period for them to allow him to represent the dreaded hair. And even they talked about the jewelry that TC Carter used to wear, and sometimes the clothing that he would wear, very African, very representative, right? And I know Africans a continent, again, don't come for me. Go with the conversation. And I'm not talking about the people in the room, I'm talking about in the comments, child. Lord, the people in the comments. Anyway, so they did talk about that. And again, as somebody who was there in that time period, I remember us having a conversation. I remember me and my friends having a conversation about, is it even realistic that Kyle is working on Wall Street with that hair? Remember that was an episode where the guy was telling him he needed to cut his hair. And so me and my friends actually had a conversation about that, and we debated about, was that realistic, right? But the fact that they allowed that as part of his character and representation, I was absolutely here for it. And it was great to see that representation. Nowadays, guys wear their hair all different styles. Like my students wear their hair. Oh my gosh. Students that have their hair cut in a fade are the minority at this point, right? They have braids, they have afros, they let their hair natural with curls, and they let it grow in their face, and they do all these very creative things. And I love to see our Black boys embracing their hair and playing with doing all different things with their hair. And I know they don't see it the way I see it, but that's how I see it. Like, I see all these different styles on these boys, and I'm loving it. So they talked about that. Mm-hmm. Kim Coles and Queen Latifah actually shared a dressing room for the entirety of the show. And Kim talked about how her and Queen Latifah were both smokers, and how they would go into their dressing room and they would smoke in between takes, and how well they got along for the entire show. I think Erica and Kim Fields shared a room, and then the guys shared a room, and they talked about that. Wow, they told her she had to go home and take her braids out. Wow. And so they talked about that. And again, child, we know Queen Latifah was a smoker. She probably smoked cigarettes and that sticky icky. I got the impression that Kim Coles doesn't smoke anymore, because she said, back then I used to smoke. But she talked about how they would go out and they would, go in their dressing room and they would smoke in between takes and stuff like that. Well, I just talked about that Kyle Barker and Max's hair was very intentional. They wanted to get rid of Max. So after the pilot, they wanted to get rid of Max. And the way that Yvette Bowser saved Max's character is by putting her across the street in her own apartment, because they wanted to cut her out of the show. So she was able to save her character by putting her across the street. So, and I think that worked out really well, because I think, and we know it's not always true, but I think when we think about her being an attorney, I think most of us will be like, why doesn't she have her own place? So I think it was realistic that she would have her own apartment, but live in the same neighborhood as them. You know what I'm saying? I love that they were able to save her character, because Lord knows what would Living Single have been without Max, right? But I also like what they did with that, because again, we know that just because you're an attorney doesn't make you rich, but I think that's the concept. That is the thought process, that she would have more money than them. And we have a struggling entrepreneur. We have Regine, who's a buyer for a boutique. And then we have Sinclair, who works for her cousin. Like, it makes sense that the three of them, you know what I'm saying, will be sharing that house or that apartment space, the brownstone. Kyle was actually named after Yvette Bowser's now husband, but at the time boyfriend. And yes, Max, her character is based off of Yvette Lee Bowser, who actually is an attorney. So yeah. Okay. And remember, Yvette Lee Bowser did Girlfriends. She did what's the name of that show with Holly Robinson Pete? It was about the three couples, the newlyweds, the older couple, and then the people dating. Something about love. Love was in the title. And I used to love that show too. I'm going to think of the name of it in a minute. For Your Love. Thank you. There it is. For Your Love. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. And I remember Holly Robinson Pete talked about when she was doing For Your Love, Yvette Lee Bowser had just had a baby. Remember, Holly Robinson Pete had just had a baby, and somebody else on the set had a baby, and she talked about how Yvette Lee Bowser set up like a nursing room for them, because all of them were nursing and were dealing with mommy stuff. And she talked about that, For Your Love was definitely a show that fell between the cracks. It was a really, really good show though. Okay. Okay, so I pretty much went through my notes. Everything that I put here, I pretty much put in my notes. I'm going to say that, so I'm going to, because I have to get ready to go to the doctor in about an hour, go back up there in about an hour. I got to be there about 2. It'll take about 30 minutes to get there. So I'm going to say this to you guys, though. I feel like this was a really, 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 the podcast is really good. So please make sure y'all go check out the podcast. If you haven't already, I see a lot of y'all are already watching it. So I'll put the link in the description box. We're going to check out episode 2, and I'll try to get you guys episode 2 at some point this week. When I come back after my doctor's appointment, well, I keep saying doctor, my orthodontist appointment. When I come back after I go to the orthodontist, I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about something today, but I don't know what we're going to talk about. Sounds like it's some stuff going on over to the Diddy trial. I saw our mom was being chased by some crazy lady on live earlier today. And today is Armand Wiggins' birthday too. But I think that they're finally starting to connect the RICO. At least when I say finally starting, I mean for us non-attorneys that are looking for how's this going to connect to the RICO. Also, my birthday wish list is pinned into the chat. And I'm going to say this. I know for those of y'all are going to get sick of me saying this, but I'm going to say it every day. You do not have to buy me anything. This is for people who want to buy something for me for my birthday. We will be having a birthday party virtual, and I don't have the date yet because I'm not sure what I'm doing for my birthday. So I will have to, I will schedule it as soon as I lock in, some stuff. You know what? Do we want to do? Is that what y'all want to do today? Lauren said, did we talk about Cardi B and Offset? And I said I was going to do a separate live for that. Do y'all want to do a Cardi B Offset live so we can listen to some of her? Because that's what I had. I had some of her voice notes of when she went live and basically went off on his ass. Y'all want to talk about Cardi B and Offset and gender? We could talk about gender roles and him wanting child support spousal support from her. Y'all want to have that conversation? Happy birthday to your baby girl. Little baby said, I'm over those folks. Sweet Pea said, we can. Okay, Sweet Pea, you see Kim Pire's coming back. He's going to be back in August. All right, well, maybe that's what we'll do. All right. Well, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do the Cardi B Offset situation. Let me get all my stuff together, honey. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later on this evening. Probably around 4. Because I think El Teddy's still traveling. Let me double check with him if he's back. I can't remember if he said he was coming back Tuesday or Wednesday. Ravine, when did he say he was coming back? Tuesday or Wednesday? Because I don't want to who is this? Aww. Y'all, my autistic student that I've taught for the last 4 years, he just sent me an invitation to his birthday graduation party. June the 20th. Am I gonna be in town? Yeah, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna stop by. I'm not staying at his party, but I'm gonna stop by and take him a gift. Oh, let me put this on my calendar. Oh, let me put it on my calendar right now. When did I give him? Yeah, because it's not that far from my house too. All right, I'm an RSVP. Okay. So yeah, we'll do. Okay, Wednesday. All right, cool. See, Ravine, I'm gonna tell him you the class secretary. Ravine is the class secretary. All right, I'm gonna add that to my calendar right now before I forget. No problem, China White, because we about to wind this down. I'm gonna go try to catch some tidbits. I think Simone went live at 12:30, or is going live at 12:30. So let me go see what Simone. She in the courtroom, child. I'm gonna tell you what's going on. All right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Thank y'all for being here. Appreciate it.